Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Friday afternoon, it's about 1:30, and let's recap the day, recap the week. So we'll go first through the indices. We'll look at SPY here, and then move on to the big gainers for today, and then recap the stocks we looked at this morning. So first, SPY ETF for the S&P 500. This is 1 hour chart for the week, Monday through Friday. Obviously pretty choppy, not a lot of range. One big range bar here on Wednesday down to 387. Other than that, it's basically stuck between 389 392. Got a little buying this morning off the open, and then came back, pulled into the 22 moving average, and then literally in the last 30 minutes of the day got this huge green candle. I'll go to 30-minute chart right here, as you can see. Huge green candle, way more volume than any time frame this week, and then set us up for new all-time highs right before the close. The S&P index ended at 39.34, and then after hours here we'll see we're even moving higher. And then there is a holiday on Monday, so a longer weekend. And then if you look at just news they have on here, so at 12:32, so half an hour before the market closed, the closing balance is only 105 million, and then 20 minutes later it's 3.4 billion. So obviously the big dogs probably know something that the retail investor doesn't know, or their algorithms are onto something. So there wasn't a ton of newsworthy releases today. CDC talked a little bit, and then really only stimulus talk was that Biden was going to meet with both sides next week. So if that's the driver, then they're getting ready to turn that money printer back on. So most indices were red most of the day, and then this end, like my watch list here, I mean, it goes down lower, but everything was red besides Google until about 12:30, and then everything went green. All the indices closed positive. So momentum's there. I've seen different fear, greed indexes, and the greed meter's picking back up. So we'll look to see if we can, keep rising higher next week with this upward momentum. We'll go to Riot to start with. Bitcoin was kind of sideways today. It's sitting at 48 still right now, but Riot has some momentum. It was a much bigger gainer than Mara, but you see on the daily, just for the week, right? So the week, last Friday closed at 23.38. This Friday closing at 49.28, so more than doubling just this week alone. And then pretty big uptick today. So the 5-minute got a dip off the open, and then basically straight uphill from 44 up to 52.73. And it wouldn't be surprising if Bitcoin made some big moves this weekend with different treasury yield rates changing. I think that the 10-year just hit the highest it's been in a while, but the 30-year was down to 2%, which is like a new low, and the VIX is down to a new low. So could have some swings here with currencies and Bitcoin being a hedge to that. So I think Riot's still going to be in play next week for sure. And then from there, let's go to some Chinese stocks that are moving. This future Fintech group, FTFT, they put out news that they're working with the CCP's consumer protection group to look at using blockchain technology to fight counterfeiting. So pretty big rip right off the open today, and then kind of rolled sideways, and then as the market took off at the end of the day, it took off, and then still up after hours. If you look at its long-term chart, we got a big spike on volume back here in January. So a 2-day move, pushed up to 11.29. So the 1st to 7th, our very bullish green bar, right, closing near the top, and then today closing at the top. So this could be a good target that for a stock that's going to gap up on Tuesday when it opens. So could be a lot of people holding long. If you're holding long, I'm not holding long, but that seems like a reasonable play looking at the previous chart where it does have large green bars, right? You can say here, possibly here, green bar here, gapped up higher, but then sold off. So could gap up Tuesday and then look to sell off. Another Chinese name, CLEU, which the China Liberal Education Holdings, which I thought kind of a weird name, but they had a huge percent of their stock get bought up by insiders, like 57%. That was just released in a 13G. So $4 hit a high of 982, and then just on the daily you can see it's had big pops before, but look at the volume here. It's 2.9 million shares. Today 99 million shares, so basically 30 times the amount. And this ticker's only been around since last May, so not a lot of chart to work with. But if you look on the weekly here, I mean, the weekly bars on the moves look pretty similar, so it could be an inside week going into next week, unless they put out some news, which once you disclose your insiders, you usually do put out some news to push the price higher. So we'll look for a catalyst on this one next week. And then let's look at some other stocks we've been talking about like all week. So first we'll just go with like the bios we talked about in the pre-market video. Inovio, big pop pre-market, basically rolled over during the day. Got a dip on the open. Couldn't get through the 16 level where there was resistance above for pre-market, and then sold off the rest of the day. On the daily chart, right, do have some resistance here in this $14 area, so we'll look to see if that holds next week or if it trades back down into this 9 moving average. Xeris Pharmaceuticals. So you can see their daily, like basically once it opened it was in range, closed down by the 9, but pre-market, had a huge pop up to $11, and this was an all day fade. I didn't really touch it. The best time probably would have been in pre-market hours, but I don't think IB had any shares to short that I remember. It could have, but it was all day fade. And then the other one we talked about this morning, ARTL, Artelo Biosciences, decent sized dip in the morning, right? So from 2.6 up to 3.6, so make $1 there, almost 40%. And then it, just like the other names, it rolled over throughout the day and sold off. And then you see here big gap up, so this thing could probably continue selling off back into the low 2s into next week. And then another biotech name, BNGO, was up on like no news, just momentum if you just look at the chart, right? So previous high a couple weeks ago, and then we just been coiling here, respecting this 9 moving average, and we get a pop on volume today, 99 million shares. And then pretty straight up here on the 5-minute chart, it held the 9 almost all morning, and then kind of sold off at the end of the day. Got a dip here, 12:30. Probably would have been a good buying opportunity, because I'd expect them to put some news out next week with this added momentum. And then let's go look at the EVs. So Hyliion basically sold off as well. Got an opening spike and then sold off, kind of sideways action all day. And it was the one with news, so kind of expect range trading, right? So big green bar, outside bar, inside bar. So I'll probably put alerts on this on the high and low for the day going into next week. And if it goes one way or the other, play off that price. And then let's go to Fisker. So they gapped up on price target today. Let's go to the 5-minute. So similar, kind of ripped right before the open, sold off, but held the pre-market support area here in the 17.2s, took off to the 19.9s, kind of get a rollover, and then some buying pressure came in late in the afternoon. So we'll look to see if more EV catalysts come out, and then obviously the big potential EV mover today with CCIV. It got a big push after hours yesterday. Some people are contributing this to Reddit and other people on Lucid Motors merger news, and apparently one of the pictures and like leaked email scripts or whatever was put out was from like January, so it was already a known thing on the web, but nonetheless this sent it higher, and it's really here in just the last hour, hour open, and you get a 35 all the way up to 42 right after the close. Kind of selling off, settling down here now after hours, but I mean, everybody's just waiting for the merger news to become official, if it does. But I mean, it's kind of similar chart play here to BNGO, right? So we get a move up, pulls back into the 9, get a move up, some sideways consolidation as the volume contracts, and then a gap up, high volume sends it off to the races. And then we'll just finish out here with marijuana stocks. As you know, they sold off hard the last few days, but we did get a big pop off the open today for most of these names. So Aphria was one that actually closed green just barely, but it was strong all morning and then rolled over towards the afternoon. And if you look at its daily chart, right, the last 2 days are pretty ugly. So closed right on this 22-day moving average. So see if that can hold. And if we go to the weekly for a little bit longer term, right, that's a pretty horrendous red bar. I don't even know what you call that one, like a sword candle or whatever. But could move down lower towards the 12s. I think most marijuana stocks now are going to be kind of cooled off until legitimate federal legalization news comes out of DC, but we'll have to wait and see. And then ACB, similar, sold off hard, ended up coming way back below that $15 or 50-week moving average at the $15 area that I mentioned in videos. Just about every video I talked about this last week. And then on its daily chart too, crash, moved below 2 moving averages, right? So this might look to settle out down here in the $11 range. And then just to show you the chart on the day, right? Same opening pop, and then but sold off earlier in the day. And then lastly, we'll go to Tilray. So similar chart to Aphria, right? They're merging. The chart should be similar, but still it was down 10% on the day. So we get that pop last in the afternoon, but a little bit more of a sell-off, and then closing basically at its pre-market lows. So look to see how this comes next week. Chart's very similar to Aphria. Does have some resistance here in the upper 25s, 26 range. So we'll see if we can get a bounce down here. And then just to look at the weekly as well, big pin, do have the 200-week moving average sitting at 27.98. So we could look to see if that acts as support next week as well. So that's all I got for this video on Friday's action. Over this weekend, I'll probably make a video on Sunday about the upcoming earnings this week. There's not as many as this past week, but there still are some big names out there, like Roku, which I mentioned in the last video. I saw the date wrong, but that is on the 18th. And then Palantir's first thing Monday morning, and we got some other names in there too, so I'll make a video on that, and then probably make another video Monday looking at different daily charts and potential setups, because you're seeing a lot of like these coiling patterns where stock will get a pop, pull back into the 9 or 22-day moving average, sit around there for a little bit, and then take off again. So try to look for some stocks that are in that range, fitting that mold for potential swing plays. And then I'll maybe come up for something tomorrow. If you have any suggestions on videos that I should make, or companies you want to look at, and I can talk about those companies, their charts, look at different available fundamentals, or PR pieces on them, I can do that as well. So let me know in the comments what you think, and as always, I hope you got something out of these videos. If you could, drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.